One of the warmest places to visit in Europe, Gran Canaria is a year-round destination where you can enjoy the great outdoors any time of the year. The island's scenery is spectacular, and this is why driving is the best way to explore Gran Canaria. In this 10-day Gran Canaria itinerary, we've included as many of the amazing places to visit and fantastic things to do in Gran Canaria as possible. Here's our epic Gran Canaria road trip. We hope you enjoy the ride. Hello from Gran Canaria, the third largest of the Canary Islands. Situated in the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of northwest Africa, Gran Canaria was inhabited since 500 BC. In 1483, after a 5-year war between the Aboriginals and the Crown of Castile, Gran Canaria became part of Spain. Gran Canaria is an island of volcanic origin. Its capital is the city of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria in the northern part of the island. Yet, Maspalomas in the southern part of Gran Canaria is the place that attracts the vast majority of tourists. In Gran Canaria you can enjoy beaches with endless stretches of golden sand, dramatic rock formations and otherworldly sand dunes. Keep watching to find out what else the island has in store for you. Before we go into detail about the itinerary itself, here are a few things to keep in mind when planning your Gran Canaria road trip. Driving in Gran Canaria is relatively easy. With a few exceptions, road conditions are very good to excellent. Even mountain roads are very well maintained, they don't have steep inclines, and most of them have guardrails. The only challenge you may come across while driving in Gran Canaria is cyclists, especially on narrow, winding roads. There aren't any toll roads in Gran Canaria. However, there are highways that run along the island's coast that help you get quickly and safely from Agaete to Puerto de Moran via Las Palmas and Maspalomas. If you're wondering where to stay in Gran Canaria, it makes sense to split your time between Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and Maspalomas. That said, if you'd rather stay in one place for your entire Gran Canaria road trip, that's also possible. But it means that you'll have to drive a few extra kilometers on some days. In the description below, you will find a section with more useful tips about your Gran Canaria road trip. There's no better way to spend your first 3 days in Gran Canaria than taking your time exploring the island's vibrant capital. Las Palmas de Gran Canaria has a lot of treasures to discover. Also, compared to Maspalomas, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria has a real city vibe rather than a resort town one. Therefore, it's the best place to forget about the car for a while and take some time off, relax and unwind before setting out on your epic Gran Canaria road trip. As this is going to be a long video anyway, we won't go into much detail about Las Palmas de Gran Canaria here. We have an entire video dedicated to the best places to visit in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, so make sure you find the link to that video in the description below. Welcome to your first full day of exploring Gran Canaria by car. Your first stop is Arucas, a picturesque village with colorful architecture and a laid-back ambience. The main attraction in Arucas is the imposing church of San Juan Bautista, while another great place to visit is the Arucas rum factory. For a unique experience, we suggest making a small detour to visit a dreamy banana plantation. A 10-minute drive from Arucas, Hacienda La Recompensa is a gorgeous space where bananas are organically grown.
When here we have in the plantation, it's quite big, 54,000 square meters, and we have 7,000 banana plants. And in this street, we have a small museum, a center of interpretation. We have 14 different varieties, like the one we showed you before, the red banana, the blue banana, topocho, apple banana, the banana macho, and a lot of different varieties to show the people when they came. Everyone can come here and visit the museum, visit the plantation, and learn a bit more about our plantation, which is completely 100% ecologic plantation.
After Arucas, it's time to visit Firgas, yet another beautiful village. Firgas is the starting point for several hiking paths, and it has a couple of spectacular viewpoints. Yet, the ultimate highlights there are the Paseo de Gran Canaria and the Paseo de Canarias. The former features an impressive artificial waterfall and the coats of arms of the island's municipalities. The Paseo de Gran Canaria is home to relief maps of all the Canary Islands. Your next stop is one of the most fascinating places to visit in Gran Canaria. The Cenobio de Valeron is a complex of grain storage rooms built by the indigenous inhabitants of Gran Canaria over 800 years ago. In the past, it was thought that those 300 caves were monk cells. This is why this place is called the Cenobio, which means monastery in Spanish. There's a small fee to enter the site, and you need to climb about 200 steps to get to the caves. The Cenobio de Valeron is still a work in progress. Several invaluable findings are discovered to this day. During our visit, we were lucky to stumble upon the chief archaeologist, who was happy to share a few words with us.
Estamos en el Cenobio de Valeron y en los años 50 y en los años 70 se construyeron estos muros y esta pasarela sobre la que caminamos hoy día. La intención, el relleno que estamos extrayendo es todo de los interiores de los silos, que para hacer la obra vaciaron los silos y echaron la tierra aquí con todo el material arqueológico. La obra se basa en retirar toda esta pasarela de piedra, extraer todo el material y poder sacarlo a la luz para poder investigarlo. Porque para el día de mañana, primero, recuperar la forma original de lo que sería la montaña y crear una pasarela que sea con menor impacto visual.
On your way back to Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, it's worth making a stop at El Roque, a quaint neighborhood where time seems to have stood still. Built atop a rugged rock, El Roque is carved by the endless dance of the Atlantic Ocean's waves. The best time to visit El Roque is sunset, but it's delightful any time of the day. If you have time for a quick swim, the natural pools of Charco de San Lorenzo are only a couple of minutes' drive away. Your Gran Canaria road trip continues in charming Galdar, the island's first capital. The Church of Santiago in Galdar is one of the prettiest churches in Gran Canaria and the ending point of the island's Camino de Santiago, which starts in Maspalomas. At the old town hall, you can have a look at the oldest dragon tree in Gran Canaria. Dragon trees are only found in Macaronesia, as the Canary Islands, Madeira, the Azores and Cape Verde are collectively known. You can also admire an impressive nativity scene during the Christmas season there. Yet, the main attraction in Galdar is the archaeological site of La Cueva Pintada, the Painted Cave. Home to the remains of the ancient city of Galdar, this site provides insight into the indigenous population of Gran Canaria, who arrived from northern Africa 2,000 years ago, and the fate that awaited them after the arrival of the Spanish conquerors. The site's highlight is the Cueva Pintada, a cave with wall paintings used by the pre-Hispanic locals as a religious site. Inside the Cueva Pintada, no photos or videos are allowed. Outside the town, in the extended area of Galdar, you can find sandy beaches and natural pools. Yet, our favorite spot is the Punta Sardina Lighthouse. With its spectacular ocean views, it's one of the best places to visit in Gran Canaria, even on a windy day. Your next stops are the whitewashed town of Agaete and the nearby Maipes Archaeological Park, a prehistoric cemetery with over 700 tombs. This open-air museum is super easy to navigate as you follow a designated path with informative signs at every turn. Apart from its historic value, the archaeological site of Maipes is also a striking place to visit, with its lava landscape set against the lush Tamadaba pine forest in the background. After Maipes, we have two suggestions. You can either visit a well-hidden coffee plantation or enjoy a scenic drive to a dramatic viewpoint. Ideally, and if time allows it, you should do both. We absolutely love visiting local farms like Finca Laja, a family-run estate in the valley of Agaete.
The production is a small production, okay? But yeah, everything is sold here in the small shop that we have. We make guided tours here on the plantation. Takes around an hour, half an hour for tour, half an hour for tasting.
Finca Laja produces oranges, grapes and coffee. Gran Canaria, and more specifically the valley of Agaete, is the only place in Europe where coffee is cultivated. At Finca Laja, you can walk through the orange grove and the coffee plantation and also visit the on-site winery, Bodega Los Berazales. At Casa Romantica, the family's farm-to-table restaurant, you can try mouth-watering dishes. Mirador del Balcon is probably the most impressive viewpoint in Gran Canaria, with breathtaking views of the island's western coastline and the Atlantic Ocean. It's also one of several points across the island that are ideal for night sky observation. The road to Mirador del Balcon may be winding and long, but the drive through the stunning Tamadaba Natural Park is one of the most scenic drives in Gran Canaria. Try to be at your final destination just before sunset. Puerto de las Nieves is a quaint fishing village and Agaete's port. From there, you can catch the ferry to Tenerife Island. From sitting on the black volcanic pebbles taking in the views of the Atlantic Ocean, to having dinner at a beachfront restaurant, to walking along the promenade that leads to the natural pools of Agaete, Puerto de las Nieves has many ways to steal your hearts. Teror is one of the prettiest towns in Gran Canaria. Home to the Basilica de Nuestra Señora del Pino, a church dedicated to the patron saint of Gran Canaria, Teror is known for its fabulous architecture. As you walk around the town, you can't miss the colorful buildings with their beautiful balconies, especially those that line Calle Real de la Plaza, Teror's main street. After Teror, a scenic drive will take you to Tejeda, a village nestled in the embrace of the sacred mountains of Gran Canaria, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Before you reach Tejeda, make a quick stop at the Cruj de Tejeda, a very popular viewpoint and the starting point for several hiking trails. In Tejeda village, take a stroll to enjoy the view from various angles and don't forget to try traditional almond-based sweets before you leave. The information center of Roque Bentayga, one of the best things to see in Gran Canaria, is just a 15-minute drive from Tejeda. From there, it takes about half an hour to walk to the top of this emblematic rock and enjoy splendid views, if the weather allows it. Located in the volcanic Caldera of Tejeda, Roque Bentayga isn't just an impressive rock formation, but also a site of archaeological significance, as it contains the remains of a sanctuary built by the island's indigenous people. There are more iconic rocks to climb near Tejeda, but we decided not to squeeze them in on the same day as Roque Bentayga. Keep watching to see why. At this point, you can head back to Las Palmas de Gran Canaria via the same road, or make a detour to fill your eyes with even more ravishing landscapes by driving through the heart of the Tamadaba Natural Park until you reach the Mirador Llanos de la Mimbre viewpoint. From there, you can see the peak of Telde volcano on neighboring Tenerife Island on a clear day. A mere 20-minute drive from Las Palmas de Gran Canaria will take you to one of the island's best-kept secrets, which is literally hidden in plain sight. The Bandama caldera was formed 2,000 years ago as a result of a fierce volcanic eruption. Unlike other craters that are barren, like the Santorini volcano crater, what's impressive about the Bandama caldera is its lush vegetation. To enjoy fantastic views of the caldera, you can reach the peak of the Bandama viewpoint by car. You can also hike along the rim of the caldera or to the bottom of the crater if you have enough time. Your next stop is Telde, the second largest city in Gran Canaria. While in Telde, take your time wandering around the charming old town, split between the neighborhoods of San Juan and San Francisco. To get from one neighborhood to the other, walk along the lovely Calle Inés Chemida and its photogenic old aqueduct. A 10-minute drive from Telde, and you're suddenly at one of the most dramatic landscapes in Gran Canaria. La Garita is home to one of the island's countless dreamy promenades where you can enjoy the perpetual flirting of the Atlantic Ocean's waves with the coast's black volcanic rocks. La Garita is famous for El Bufadero, a hollow rock that puts on a magnificent show with the constant comings and goings of the waves. As the rocks are slippery and the waves can get really big, make sure you keep a safe distance from the Bufadero. If you manage to get your eyes off of the wonder that is El Bufadero, get ready to explore what must be the most impressive archaeological site in Gran Canaria, the Cuatro Puertas complex. The indigenous population of Gran Canaria used to carve entire villages into the rock, turning caves into residences, storage rooms, and places of worship. Walking around this archaeological site will give you an understanding of how the Aboriginals lived before the arrival of the Spanish conquerors. Speaking of cave dwellings, you're about to visit an area where people still call those home. The Guaydeque ravine is a landscape of unfathomable beauty. Driving through the ravine and spotting cave homes as you go is one of the best things to do in Gran Canaria. While there, you can stop at the Guaydeque Museum to learn everything about the ravine and its history. For a memorable experience, step inside one of the cave restaurants you'll find in the ravine. On your way back to Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, make a quick stop at Ingenio, a cute village known for its handmade crafts. This is the day you're leaving Las Palmas de Gran Canaria behind and heading to Maspalomas for the rest of your trip. Complete with a lovely historic center, several bronze statues and verses written on its walls, Agüimes is the perfect start to your 8th day on this Gran Canaria road trip before you drive to the picture-perfect Barranco de las Vacas. This spot has become very popular lately, and this is why you should get there as early in the morning as possible to beat the crowds and find a parking spot. After walking along a very short path, you'll find a complex of dream-like rock formations that feel like the setting of a fantasy film. From there, keep driving on the same mountain road until you reach Fataga, an adorable village with whitewashed houses and flower-scented narrow alleys built in the heart of the Valley of the Thousand Palms. Continuing your drive along this valley of unparalleled beauty, you will reach el Mirador Astronómico de la Degollada de las Yeguas, another superb viewpoint that is also a night sky observation point from where you can spot several constellations on a fine starry night. After an exciting drive from the north to the south of the island, your final destination awaits. Maspalomas is the most touristy part of Gran Canaria, roughly divided into 3 parts: the resort wonderland, the beaches, and the famous dunes. For a first taste of this part of Gran Canaria, take a stroll around the town of Maspalomas, which feels more like a purpose-built resort than a real town. There are more gigantic resorts and hotels than our eyes can handle, and there is nothing authentic about the numerous cafes and bars that line the beachfront. The same goes for the famous Playa de Ingles, which feels like an enormous parking lot built on the sand. Yet, not everything about Maspalomas is bad. But we saved the best part for the last day of this 10-day Gran Canaria itinerary. Do you remember when we told you on day 6 that there were more rocks to climb near Tejeda, but we'd leave them for another day? Well, this is the day. We recommend visiting Roque and Nublo and Pico de las Nieves while staying in Maspalomas, so that you don't miss what's probably the most scenic route in Gran Canaria on your way back. The road that leads from Tejeda to Maspalomas via Mogan. Your first stop for today is the ultimate symbol of Gran Canaria, the iconic Roque Nublo. You will get there via a familiar road, the one that runs through the Valley of the Thousand Palms, past the village of Fataga. Roque Nublo is a natural rock that soars above beautiful beyond words scenery. You must hike a relatively easy trail for about 30 minutes to get to the top. The views from Roque Nublo are divine, that is, if you get to see them.
We made it to the top of the Roque Nublo in Gran Canaria, but the weather isn't that kind to us. This is exactly what happened when we climbed the Pico Rivo in Madeira. In both cases, we missed the epic views, but we enjoyed the experience. So, no regrets.
As it turns out, the gods of Gran Canaria were kinder to us than the gods of Madeira, though. Shortly after we filmed this clip, the clouds started to part, offering us glimpses of the majestic rock and the surrounding landscape. We know that it's hard to let go of those views, but yet another glorious viewpoint awaits. The dramatic Pico de las Nieves viewpoint offers breathtaking views that aren't easy to describe. You can see endless stretches of fabulous scenery from up there, including Roque Nublo and Morro de la Agujereada, the highest peak in Gran Canaria. After taking in those epic views, it's time to enjoy an equally epic driving experience. The road that leads from Pico de las Nieves to Mogan is one of the most scenic drives in Gran Canaria. Keep in mind that it's not as well maintained as all the other roads you've seen so far, but driving along this road is one of the best things to do in Gran Canaria. Your final stop for the day is the almost unbearably romantic Puerto de Mogan. A cross between a tourist resort and a quaint seaside town, Puerto de Mogan won us over for its laid-back vibes. Home to water canals and small bridges that earned it the Little Venice nickname, Puerto de Mogan is an utterly charming town of picturesque alleys, lined with whitewashed buildings and adorned by colorful bougainvilleas. The town's small sandy beach is a slice of heaven on earth, while there is also a small marina to walk along. The best time to visit Puerto de Mogan is in the evening, when the day trippers are long gone. So, don't hesitate to stick around a little while longer before you head back to Maspalomas. Remember when we told you that there's more to Maspalomas than its characterless resorts? On your last day in Gran Canaria, it's time to explore the magic of Maspalomas on foot. Start your day near the impressive Meloneras Lighthouse with a stroll along the lovely promenade before you spend some time relaxing on the sandy beach of Maspalomas. Don't forget to also explore La Charca, a beautiful lagoon loved by photographers and bird watchers alike. Yet, the better part of your day should be reserved for the famous dunes of Maspalomas, an otherworldly scenery that is hard to beat and the most extraordinary thing to see in Gran Canaria. Once inside the area of the dunes, there are signposted paths to follow. Try to stick to those, as you might easily get lost otherwise. When sunset approaches, make sure you get to the top of one of the highest dunes to watch one of the best sunsets you could ever wish for. Just as the sun dives into the horizon, try not to fall in love with Gran Canaria while dipping your toes in the sand under a gorgeous pink sky. It's impossible.
We'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for staying until the end of this undeniably long video. We tried to keep it short, we really did, but Gran Canaria is filled with so many treasures that nothing less could do it justice. We hope you find our 10-day Gran Canaria itinerary helpful when planning your own epic Gran Canaria road trip. If some days on this itinerary seem a bit too full for you, don't hesitate to skip a stop or two. Because, at the end of the day, Gran Canaria isn't about ticking places off of a list. Gran Canaria is about taking your time to enjoy this blessed land to the fullest. After all, you can always go back for more before too long. We know we will.